this video, I'm going to break down, react, and review the vocals of XO. So, let's sing something. La la la. All right, you guys, I am actually really excited about this. So I did a review on BTS. I've actually done some, and you kept asking over and over again, please, can you do a review of XO? So I'm not only doing a review of XO, but I'm gonna break down their vocals, tell you how they're doing what they're doing, and if you go to vocalfreebies.com, you can print out a cheat sheet that I made that shows you step by step how to create and mimic some of these stylistic choices that they are making with their voice. Absolutely free, download it, no problem. So, let's get started. I watched this in advance, so I've actually taken notes on which sections I think really showcase their vocals, and that's what we're going to focus on today. So it took me a moment when I first saw that and was like, what is he doing? Oh, I almost think, now you tell me if this is true, but it almost sounded like they were just kind of messing around and he had his first note and he was kind of singing and then he decided to hold a note and then one of the other guys was like jumping in and joining in to have fun with it. Regardless of why they were doing it, the layering was beautiful. 1, 3, 5, 8. Like, they did nice intersections there of a third and a fifth and an eighth. Like, it was beautiful, natural. They came all in, and I think it blended super well there. I want to point out, we're going to rewind that and you're going to see again, his mouth was all the way open. Da 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 da. Tongue is down, jaw is unhinged, mouth is totally open to get as much space as possible out of that sound. I'd like to also point out that as I've been reviewing more and more K-pop type groups, I think it is partially from the language, but singing in English, we tend to hold open on the vowels, and I found that a lot of K-pop groups tend to close up on sections where they could really open up. This is not in English, and he just held open on that vowel, which is perfect technique, and I just don't see it often enough, so that's really good to see him open up on that tongue down, jaw unhinged. The other thing I do want you to notice is that there's a little bit of stress and strain on the neck here, and this could also just be stage-wise showing the strength behind it, but in general, as you're singing these notes and as you as a listener are practicing, it would be best to keep it relaxed unless you're performing on stage. A beautiful trill. So he's really placing the sound up into that nasal tone area, but opening up that space. Making sure that his vocal cords can make those quick adjustments that it needs for those trills. or whatever his notes were there. It was really fast, very smooth, light off the top. I'm liking what I'm hearing so far. So, on his, not quite as open. Machino is here instead of no. It's nice and open, bigger space. So I would like to see him kind of open up a little bit more, but his tone is pretty awesome. He's got a little bit heavier of a voice, so it's a da-da-da instead of da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, kind of heavier, chestier feeling. I'm not as familiar with this group, so you may have to fill me in on some information, but considering his placement of where he's placing the sound, I would think that maybe he's more in charge of a little bit more of the lower notes, because he has a little heavier, heftier sound to him. Perfect example. One is doing that low chestier note, the other one's doing the high pingier thin da, and whereas the other one's da, a little bit lower. Yes, there's different notes, but there's also different tones going on. So if you're going for the deeper tone, you're going to want to think of it lower in the chest, think of it more open, whereas that high note, if you're going for a high note like he just did, you're going to really want to thin out the sound. You might even try like a cartoon style voice. Da, da, it's up in here rather than in here. Da, da, really forward, really thin, and relaxing that space. If you'd like more information on the different styles and techniques that I'm talking about, go to vocalfreebies.com, click on cheat sheets, and click on how to sing like XO. I have a little cheat sheet there. Print it out. Follow along, and it'll help you learn how to control your vocals and get a little more used to their styles. Much better. I liked his note there. He was a little bit more open. There could have been a little more space, but it's much better than what I was hearing on the previous notes. He really sits down into his da 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 da. So when you hear that kind of crescendo of his note in there, yes, he is kicking his head back, but he's also placing the weight down. And when you think of the note, instead of it heading up, you think of the note heading down. It's going to release the tension in your shoulders and your neck and allow that note to come out a lot easier. Da 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 da. Thinking of it shifting back and down. And that's slightly what he's doing as he's going into these high notes. He's really putting the weight downward and open rather than, and you don't see him at all. He's not going onto his toes. He's not reaching up. He's sitting down into that note, and that is proper technique right there. So now I come. Okay, before we get into this section, I did watch this part already, and I'm going to show you this section and then show you them doing it again. Why I've chosen to do it this way is because this first one that we're going to hear, I'm not so happy with. Wah, wah. Sorry, but it's true. I feel like they're slightly off pitch. They're a little bit flat, and the levels aren't quite there. Now, granted, they're most likely the system they're not hearing as well. Maybe they weren't given a proper note in on this. I don't know what the circumstances are, but hearing this for the first time, I was like, it's slightly flat, slightly off. And energetic-wise, they don't feel there. Maybe they were tired. I have no idea, but it just doesn't feel as lively. So we're going to watch this, and then I'm going to clip on over to another time that they sang it, and it is just totally different.
Believe what I say, so here I am with open arms. So now I come to you with open arms.
Granted, it is a higher key, so they are singing all the notes higher, but can you feel how that blended better? The levels seem better, and even just listening to it, it feels more lively. It feels more alive. There's more energy behind it rather than the first take. I don't know the circumstance behind it. Their vocals are spot on this one, and the one before I felt not quite as confident, almost like they were messing around and they didn't mean it seriously, if that makes any sense. And then now I want to back up to a clip that came before it called Creep, because I felt there's some things that need to be pointed out in it.
But I'm a creep. I'm away though. What the hell I'm doing here? I don't belong here.
So, on his I don't belong here, he did a really nice scoop. So instead of I don't belong here, it's I don't belong here. It's this nice deep tone, and he adds a little bit of a scoop that goes into it. When you're scooping or sliding into your notes, it makes things a little creepy. It makes things a little bit more eerie and spooky, kind of, which is perfect for this song. So I really like that he gets that deep, low feel, and he slides up from it. And this almost sounds like his regular speaking tone somewhere in there. I'm not sure, but it almost sounds like this is comfy. This is comfortable for him to sing in this tone. Again, if you want to kind of understand what am I talking about scooping and air and ping, what are all these things? Go to vocalfreebies.com, click on cheat sheets, and go to how to sing like XO. Print out my little cheat sheet, and it walks you through a little bit better on how to approach these different styles and techniques. Okay, so that note right there, remember we were talking about it being really thin and placed up in here? Yeah! He's hitting it with a slight bit of vocal fry, which brings the vocal cords together, and then he's placing it from here. Right up there, which is like crazy high for a dude to be hitting, but on top of that, he's thinning it out, and you can get that more of a sound and less of a which is an airy tone. He went right up for that ping and just pulled it totally forward and thin. And then that can be approached with a little bit of vocal fry, rubbing it together, and then making sure that you come out the front of it. These tones rooms seem to be kind of more in his home base. They're really clean, they're open, he's sitting into them, he's got a decent open amount of space in his mouth, and it sounds like this is his standard comfortable belt range for this singer. His tone on there is also different. It's actually a little bit closer to the original, so you can totally tell that he's been listening to the original. But he's got a little bit more of a mouth tone, whereas when we've heard him sing before, I've been saying he's a little bit more forward. Living without you. But when he does a trill, living alone, whatever his notes were there, his tone is more in his mouth rather than forward, and he's done forward more often than not, so I thought it was very interesting that he chose to do this one more mouth-wise.
Wanting to hold you, what do you need? How much I wanted to hold.
Nice trill.
'Cause all of my life I'm waiting for this day to find the once in a lifetime.
That right there. To find a once in a lifetime. To find. That is a scoop. That's an old school R&B style scoop right there. If you're curious, is like, who really did that? Dude, lots of people did. So hearing him add that in is kind of neat to bring back that feeling a little bit more. It also takes a little bit more skill to find instead of to find, to find. And it also creates a outward feeling and then pulling inward as well. Click here for that cheat sheet telling you how to sing like EXO. Click here for other vocal coach reaction reviews that I've done, and come hang out with me in my Facebook group. The link is down below, and I will see you in the next song. La la la!